How's everyone doing? I wasn't sure if I was gonna do this video or not, but I decided to go ahead and do it because you guys are basically a part of my life. I've been doing videos on here now for 5 years, all the way back to my old channel, and you know, this is something that's gonna be hard for me to talk about. December 5th, my father passed away in Virginia at 9:36 a.m. from an apparent heart attack, and that's why I haven't been on here. I've got some people messaging me, you know, what happened? Are you alright? How come you're not responding back to me? I'm not trying to avoid anybody. It's just I didn't really feel like talking to anybody or dealing with anybody or really doing anything. So yeah, I've had, you know, I get review copies sometimes from movie studios, and some of them are reaching out saying, you know, the deadline is passed, what's going on? You know, I decided to go ahead and tell a couple of them. I was kind of disappointed that one of the big studios, you know, I sent them, you know, let them know what was going on, and that's why I couldn't meet that deadline, and they didn't even respond back. I was kind of surprised by that. One of the smaller ones responded back, and they were really nice and offered condolences and things like that, which I appreciated. Made me feel good about working with them and continue to work with them. You know, I've seen other people make videos like this when their, you know, parents had passed away, and I wasn't sure if I would ever, you know, I never thought I'd be in that position to begin with, but if it did happen, I wasn't sure if I would, you know, be so public about it. But then, you know, I realized, you know, like I said, you guys are part of my life. I interact with you guys on here, and some of you guys I've talked to for a long time. I've made some good friends on here, and yeah, I don't know if anybody has dealt with this before, and I don't know, does it get easier? I don't think it does, but yeah, and it's a horrible situation to begin with, but it's been made even more difficult with the fact that my mother has mental illness. So as of right now, what is the 21st, I think, maybe, my father is still not in his final resting place. So he's still at the funeral home. The funeral home wanted me to go to the court and petition to get charge of all that kind of stuff, and I guess it would be like a family court thing. And yeah, I talked to the probate court, and it'd just be, I think they said it'd be 10 days at least, and it was going to be such a process and hassle and create more family drama. So I haven't done that, and hopefully my father will be at his final resting place on the 30th. Hopefully. I know before he said he wanted his ashes, he wanted to be cremated and his ashes spread over the Shenandoah Valley, I think at Mount St. Mary's Rock, and you know, everybody liked that idea except for my mother. She doesn't want that. She wants him to be buried in the cemetery where her parents are, and she wants to be buried there as well. And there's more drama with that too. I'm not going to get into all that, but he has no family there, and you know, but the rest of his side of his family, he's one of 7 children. My mother's one of 6. But the rest of his family, you know, at first they were all for the cremation. It was they're kind of disappointed that she didn't want to do that, and but now they're kind of just, you know, whatever you want to do kind of situation. But my one aunt from my mother's side of the family drove up and, you know, tried to get things going. I was basically, you know, telling everybody, you know, if she's in charge, it's just never going to happen. And initially I was, you know, basically put in charge of everything, so I, you know, set up a viewing and, you know, funeral procedures, just to, you know, so people can say their respects and, you know, final goodbye to my father. And then my mother basically ruined that. The funeral home director is like, you know, we could still have this viewing. All you have to do is, this is like the night before, and you know, you just have to say yes. And she couldn't do it, and she wouldn't say yes, and there's a whole big ordeal, and so everything's made way more complicated. There's so many other factors too. I'm not even gonna get into all that. So it's been really kind of taking a toll on me, and you know, I do want to get back on here and make videos. You know, I enjoy making videos. I just haven't felt like doing anything or talking to anybody for a few weeks now, and you know, I'm gonna try to get back on here and make videos. And again, if anybody has, you know, has dealt with this, you know, give me any kind of ideas of how to deal with things, or because right now I'm just, you know, it's still, he passed away on a business trip in Virginia. I'm in New Jersey, and so that was another thing where it just didn't feel real at first. And then, you know, we saw him, we had his body transported up here, but now apparently we're gonna have, it's a whole big thing. She wants to have the viewing up here, but then have the funeral down in Virginia, and that's a whole nother mess altogether. But yeah, when we had him come up here, he had been embalmed already, and I just can't get that image out of my head of how he looked and how he felt. He felt so, if you haven't, you know, been in that position when they're embalmed, it makes them hard. They were like a statue. I, you know, touched his arm, it was like, you know, like a rock. It was just, didn't really feel like him. And I brought my dog Wrigley because Wrigley loved my dad. You know, my dad was Wrigley's like favorite person. He would just go wild for him, and you know, I brought him, and I don't think he understood and honestly, it just doesn't feel real. He was, I felt like he was just here, like we were, just talking to him, and you know, he used to joke around because he's had, some health problems here and there. He had this cough that wouldn't go away, and he would, kind of always joke around and say, "Oh, I'm not going to be here too much longer." And he said that like the last time I talked to him. I went over to my parents' house to take out some garbage and help around the house when he wasn't there, and he called up and he said, "Oh, I'm not going to be around too much longer." And he said, "Oh, I'm going to either be in the Potter or the ground," or that's what he said. "I'm going to be in the ground or the Potter." He then corrected himself in the Potter. But the last time I actually, the week before that, I was in the car with him. He said, "I don't have too much longer," and he used to say stuff like that all the time, and just he didn't have any life insurance either, and so that funerals are expensive. Holy moly, all this is so expensive. And I just can't believe he's not going to be here anymore. I can't believe, he's not going to call me up and say, "Hey, I'm outside, I want to get something to eat," or, you need some groceries, or, you know, something like that. And I can't believe, my dog's not going to see him anymore. My dog used to just go crazy when he would come in. If I went over to my parents' house, I'd bring my dog over, and he would just go wild for my dad. And I just can't believe he's not, not going to be here ever again. And I'm worried about forgetting what he looks like. I'm just remembering him, and I'm just thinking, what if in 5 years or 10 years or however long I forget what he looks like? I don't know how people deal with that. I don't know. I never thought it would happen. It just seems, because he was young. He was 55. That's young. I talked to one of the doctors down in Virginia, and she was like, "Oh, well, he's of that age." Or I'm like, "What are you talking about? He's 55." He said, "Well, over 50, your chances, increase." I think the average life expectancy for a male in America is like 77. So and he had type 2 diabetes, but they said it wasn't because of that. His blood sugar was low, and it wasn't anything to do with that. He had lost a lot of weight. I mean, he was never real big, but he lost a lot of weight. He was in good shape and everything. Physically he wasn't overweight. But he never took care of himself. He always took care of everybody else but himself. He wouldn't he didn't eat as properly as he should have. My one aunt was like saying maybe he had a terminal health condition, and he just didn't want to tell people and burden people with it. I don't know. There's so many more other complications to things, because my father and mother didn't have a great relationship, so there's things that were kind of like kept secret, and all kinds of stuff like that. And it's just, I just can't believe that he's not going to be here anymore. I can't call him up. I can't see him. He was basically a big support system. He was always there. When I moved out, when my ex and I broke up, I moved out. He said I can come back and stay over there for a little bit, and he was always there for me, essentially. And when growing up, my mother's always had mental illness, and he was, even when he was in the military, he wasn't always around. He was always somebody that I could, count on. And he wasn't always around when I was younger, but the past few years he was around more. And he was living in Virginia for a while before he moved back over here. He got a new job, and that was another thing too. His insurance, because he had type 2 diabetes, he couldn't get the medication for it. He was only there for 4 months or something, but because it was a pre-existing condition, he had to wait 7 months and to get that coverage, so he couldn't get his medication that he needed. And he couldn't get life insurance. Life insurance was 6 months, so he was just a couple months shy of that, and just doesn't seem real still. I just want him, there's so much drama going on. I just want him to be at peace. I want him to be at his final resting place. It's been 3 weeks now. It's actually the 22nd, not the 21st, and I think it's not Mount St. Mary's Rock. Mount St. Mary was a college in New York. I think it's St. Mary's Rock or Mary's Rock or something like that in the Shenandoah Valley. I remember looking it up. It looked nice. And I have a heart condition myself, and I know I've been told many times I'm going to have open heart surgery in my lifetime. And I don't know, my heart, I don't know if it's just all the stress, but my heart is just, it just feels like there's a weight on it. And I'm trying to be strong, trying to think of him being with me, and trying to give me some his essence, giving me some kind of calmness, and helping me get through things. But it's just, I don't know if anybody can give me any kind of guidance or advice how to deal with the situation. Um, yeah, trying to do the best I can. I'm trying to move forward and cope, and that's one thing. Maybe I should get back to doing these videos because maybe that could be something helpful. And yeah, I guess in a way of doing this video, before I was thinking when other people did ones for this as well, for the same situation of their parent passing away. I guess maybe it's looking for support as well. I guess in a way I'm doing that too. I mean, support's not a bad thing in this type of situation, and I don't know. Like I said, my mother has mental illness, and this is, it's a hard thing to deal with. She's always had that, and this is just, going to make things much worse. She was completely dependent on him. She doesn't do anything except for sleep, eat, and watch TV. She didn't cook, she didn't clean. My dad worked, got all the groceries, did all the laundry, brought out the garbage, did every single thing, cooked, cleaned, mopped the floors, everything like that. And it's, and that's another thing too. My mother, I went to give her a hug. She wouldn't give me a hug because I had a piece of lint on my shirt. So I have not hugged my mother since my father passed away almost 3 weeks ago now. So I think that's awful. I couldn't imagine that. If I was in that situation and somebody wanted to give me a hug, I don't care if they were covered in mud or poop, I'd give them a hug. I just couldn't imagine that. So yeah, I mean, I'm an only child as well. I don't have any other family in New Jersey now except for my mother. And again, that's not a good situation. I know some people were asking, well, do you want to move down here? I have family in Virginia, I have family in California, Texas, Arizona. But while I have family there, I mean, a lot of these family members I haven't talked to in a long time, and I don't have any friends in those places. I have those family members, but here in New Jersey, I've lived here now for 14 years, and I have friends here, and I couldn't imagine this. New Jersey's overpriced and overpopulated, but I couldn't imagine moving. I just wish this is a great area right here. I do wish all my family lived close together in one area. Yeah, I just want to get on here and talk about it and share, and maybe it'll be kind of cathartic for me as well. And I might do a kind of a tribute video to my dad, maybe like a slideshow or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll just put that in my other. I have another channel that I never really. I uploaded a couple videos, which was kind of more of a personal vlog kind of channel, which I didn't really do too much with because I started making vlogs on this channel as well. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of get on here and talk about that, what's going on in my life. And my dad was a big part of my life, and he was a great friend. I mean, we became really close over the past few years, and I wish, that's another thing too, I wish I would have taken more pictures with him. The past few pictures that I took of him were with my dog. Like, I wish I would have taken more pictures with him. And that's another thing too, the day that my dad called, I think it was a Tuesday, and he passed away on a Thursday, and he called me early when I was over taking out garbage and helping her out around the house, and he called me later that night, and I was getting ready to eat and watch something on TV, so I didn't pick up the phone. That was the last time he called me, and the last time I could have had a chance to talk to him, and I feel horrible that I didn't pick up. I was like, oh, well, I just talked to him. I'll talk to him again whenever, and just take that for granted. And another thing too, when I was younger, I'm sure everybody had the same feeling. They didn't want to go out or hang out with their dad or something, or their parents or something like that. And now I look back on that, I was like, wow, I wish I was stupid to think that, because family's the most important thing. Family and good friends, and so never feel embarrassed about hanging out with your parent or anything like that. If they're a good person, enjoy that time. It's so important. And I never thought in a million years that I wouldn't ever see my dad again. I just never thought that. I just thought we would have plenty of time. I thought I'd be able to have him at my wedding. He'd be able to be a grandfather to my kids one day when I have kids. He would have been a great grandfather. Now that's never going to happen, and my dog's never going to see him again, and I'm never going to see him again. It's obviously it's a difficult situation, and I'm just trying to do the best that I can to get through it. And I just wanted to get on here and let people know what's going on in my life, and because again, you guys are part of my life now, so just put it out there. And I love my dad. I wish he was still here, and just doesn't feel right that he's not here. It just doesn't feel real still, honestly. I'm just, I'm thinking I'm just gonna wake up from this as just a bad dream, and I was when I first heard about it, I was hoping now maybe they just got a mistake and the police sent up his clothing or his personal items that he had in the hotel room. He was in the morning. He was getting breakfast at the hotel, and he had vomited and passed out. And then the EMTs came, and he was saying he was all right. He had came to, and then he I guess vomited and passed out again. And they said they couldn't revive him. But somebody, I think it was the medical examiner, said they were able to revive him for 1 minute, and then he passed out again. They were never able to revive him. So there's kind of conflicting stories there. But either way, it doesn't unfortunately the same outcome. And they wanted to do, they're asking if we want to do an autopsy, but even if that was done, you couldn't guarantee results to find out what, caused the, heart attack, apparent heart attack. They can't say for sure if that's what it was, but it was cardiac arrest, but they don't know what caused it. And so we opted not to do that anyways. But, it was the thing I think about, that when he was embalmed, seeing him and touching him and how hard he was, and just didn't feel like him. I wish it could have been, regular squishy skin that I could have hugged him. I did hug him, and but I just think of that. It's just not the way I wanted to think of him, and I just wish I would have taken more pictures with him, spent more time with him, and you got to cherish those. It's so important. And to anybody out there who's lost a loved one, I love you. I want to give my love and support to you as well. And let's help each other out, and help each other deal with things. And my heart feels heavy. It's gonna be hard to get through things now. I mean, he was probably, as of right now, I'm single. My best friends don't live in New Jersey anymore. They didn't live in New Jersey. I moved from. My best friends are in New York, but they have kids now and married, and I just don't see them as much. And he was basically, the most important part of my life. Really, I just didn't realize it. I mean, because my mother has so many issues, and I didn't really talk to many other members of my family. His side of the family did come up, but I spent some time with them, and that was one great thing that came of this, kind of reconnecting with family, and reconnecting that family bond, especially on his side, and talking to people. And my one uncle looks a lot like him in the face, and he was a good man, and there should be more people out there that are good people, and I wish there were. And I wish he was still here, and I miss him already, and it just doesn't feel real. I know I keep saying that, but it's just, I don't know, I'm just sad. Just, don't know how to deal with this. And I wish things were different and easier and better, and he didn't pass away. But that's where I'm at. That's what's going on. And I wanted to share it, I guess, in a way maybe it would be beneficial to me and maybe other people as well. If you're dealing with anything, you want to talk, I'm here for you as well. I do my best to reply to everybody. Sometimes I'll miss a few people, but I always read everybody's comments, and I always do my best to respond. And I appreciate all the support I've gotten on here over the years. Making videos on here, it's given me lots of great opportunities. It's a great outlet, and I like doing it. And I like the interaction, talking to people on here. I've met some good people and made some good friends, and I appreciate all the support over the years on here. I really do. It means the world to me. And I love you. I love you all. And there's not going to be any Christmas for me this year. No Christmas in the Swick household. He basically set everything up for, family Christmas. I go to my parents' house for a little bit sometimes. And, like I said before, there's no other family in New Jersey for me except for my mother, has mental illness, and she's already said she doesn't want to do anything for Christmas. And, so I don't know, really. I'm probably just going to have a drink and watch It's a Wonderful Life on Christmas. that was one of his favorite movies. His favorite Christmas movie is my favorite Christmas movie as well, and one of my all-time favorite movies. So maybe I'll do that in a way to honor him, and it just makes me think of little things here and there too. One of his favorite beers, if we'd go out to a restaurant or get something to drink, he'd always get like a Blue Moon, or his shot of choice was Jack Daniels. We lived in Germany for a while. He liked German beers, but obviously they don't have those over here, and he'd always get Blue Moon. I always remember that, so maybe I'll start having Blue Moon more often. Think of him a little bit, and there's little things here and there, and he worked so hard. He worked all the time, and every single day he'd come in on his days off, and he just worked too hard. He didn't know when to say no and when to stop. He just didn't get enough rest. He didn't eat as properly. Like I said, he didn't he had these health conditions. It wasn't too bad. He was okay with his diabetes and stuff like that. That wasn't an issue. But he had that cough. This coffee kept coming back for months and months and months. And I don't know if he thought it. Maybe he didn't know he had a terminal thing. Maybe he thought he did. Maybe he just thought there's something more going on, but he wasn't able to go to the doctors because he didn't have the insurance yet at that point. And one of my aunt asked me if I was going to move back in with my mom and help out around there. No, I don't think he'd want that either. He wouldn't want my life dedicated to taking care of her. She's just, unfortunately, she's not a good person. She's never, I don't have any good memories of her, unfortunately. She's has mental illness, and very difficult person to deal with, and I can't take his place of basically being the father, for her. I can't, it's it's just another difficult aspect to this. She was so dependent. I can't go there and do everything in my life and then go there and just take care of her 24/7. And I don't think he'd want that. I think he'd want me to live my life and go about my life, and I'm sure he'd want me to stay positive and live life and all that stuff. But it just feels like a piece of me is missing, and just feels like it's never going to be the same. Life is never going to be the same. He was such a big part of my life, and there's certain things you just don't realize until after the fact, unfortunately. And you really, that's something I've said that before. You have to really pay attention to and not take for granted the people that are in your life that you love and love you and your family. Spend as much time as possible with them. Talk to them as much as possible. Don't hang up the phone. Don't be angry. Have patience, because you never know when they're going to be gone, because this was just out of the blue. It was shocking. He was supposed to come, he said he was originally supposed to come back up on Friday, and he ended up passing away Thursday. But he said he might have to work he might have to stay a couple more days till Sunday and come back up on Sunday. But then he said he might come back on Friday, so he could have made it just one more day. He could have been up here with us, and who knows. And really, to me, he was my Superman. He was, I think that's the way most kids look up to their father. Like, he can do anything, he can survive anything. And when about 16 years ago, when I was in New York, he had a seizure. He was in the grocery store with my mother, and he passed out and hit his head and started, convulsing. And they ran all kinds of tests during, 16 years ago. They could never find out what caused it. And he never had an issue again, all throughout that time, till, that was the only time. And they said it wasn't a seizure that he had this time. And, but he was able to get through all those, different things that he's had issues with. And, I just thought he'd always be that way. I know it's silly, but I always thought he'd, live forever, or, I just thought, I have silly, just, illusions of grandeur, I guess it were. Medical science has made so many great leaps. Maybe, the stem cell research or something like that, they can, make people live a lot longer or regrow organs or whatever. But I guess that, that's, I don't know, who knows, maybe a long time from now. But, they have the whole cryogenics and stuff like that, and they've cloned animals. I think they've probably cloned humans in some government facility we don't know about, but that's a whole nother thing. And I'm just kind of rambling, and it's gonna be difficult. And he was always there. He was, I always, if something was going wrong, he was kind of like my rock. I'd always think, oh, he'd be there to give me support, or help me out, or give me a hug or a pat on the back or whatever. That's another thing too. I wish I would have given more hugs, or guys, give a little, one of these kind of things. No real, as much of an embrace that I would have wanted to give him, especially knowing, what would have happened and what did happen. I wish I would have given more embraces and more hugs, and told him I love you and things like that. I'm sure he knew all that, but yeah. And he really was a good man, a good person, and a big part of my life as well. And we had gotten a lot closer over the past couple of years. We'd go out to get groceries or go out to eat and just talk. And yeah, it's a big part of my life that's missing now, and it's hard to deal with. And Dad, I wish you all the best. I hope you're in heaven watching over us, and I love you. It was just a difficult situation, and just letting you guys know what's going on. And if you guys can offer me any kind of ideas how to deal with things, definitely let me know, because I'm feeling kind of empty, and like a piece of me is kind of gone, and it's just been kind of hard to deal with. And there you go, that's why I haven't been on here. And I hope everybody's doing well. Have happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and take care.